The shuttle bay doors opened with a soft hiss, and Dr. Jamin Park stepped onto Research Station Kepler 442. The air tasted different here. It carried the metallic temps of recycled atmosphere mixed with something else, something that made his skin tingle slightly. "Welcome to Kepler Station, Dr. Park," said Captain Hyanwu, extending his hand. The captain was a tall man with tired eyes and worry lines around his mouth. "I hope your journey wasn't too difficult." Jamin shook the captain's hand and smiled. "Not at all, Captain. I'm excited to be here. This is my first assignment on a joint species research station." Captain Hyanwu's expression darkened slightly. "As well, things here are a bit more complicated than most joint stations. Let me show you to your quarters first, then we'll have the briefing." As they walked through the corridors, Jamin noticed how clean everything was. To clean. The walls gleamed under the bright lights, and every surface looked like it had been scrubbed recently. Other crew members moved quickly through the halls, their heads down, speaking in whispers. "The station seems very quiet," Jamin observed. "Keep things orderly here," Captain Hyanwu replied shortly. "It's necessary for everyone's safety." They passed several levels before reaching the residential section. Jamin's quarters were small but comfortable, with a window that looked out at the strange purple and green planet below. Captain Hyanwu handed him a datapad. "This contains all the station protocols. Please read it carefully before tomorrow's briefing. Dr. So-young will show you around the research labs in the morning." After Captain Hyanwu left, Jamin sat on his bed and began reading the protocols. Most were standard safety procedures he knew from his training, but one section made him pause. It was titled Restricted Access Zones and contained a long list of areas that were completely off-limits to all personnel. Level 7 caught his attention. The entire level was marked as a quarantine zone. The notes said it housed a dangerous individual, that no one was allowed to enter without special authorization from the station commander. Jamin frowned. He had never heard of an entire level being quarantined for one person. What kind of danger could require such extreme measures? The next morning, Dr. So-young met him at the cafeteria. She was a young woman with sharp eyes and a friendly smile, but Jamin noticed she looked nervous. "Good morning, Dr. Park. I hope you slept well," she said, sitting across from him with her breakfast tray. "Please, call me Jamin." "Slept fine, thank you. I was reading the station protocols last night. Very thorough." Dr. So-young nodded quickly. "Yes, we have to be very careful here. More careful than most stations. I notice level 7 is completely quarantined. What kind of research requires that level of isolation?" Dr. So-young's face went pale. She looked around the cafeteria nervously before leaning closer. "It's not research, Jamin. It's containment." "Containment of what?" "Not what. Who?" She lowered her voice to barely a whisper. "Her name is Nari." Shh. Jamin had studied the Veltar species extensively. They were beautiful beings made of living crystal, highly intelligent and peaceful. Their bodies could store and channel various forms of energy, making them excellent engineers and scientists. "Dangerous how?" he asked. Dr. So-young glanced around again. "She killed 3 of her own people when she was young. Her energy abilities are unstable. She can't control them. Veltar say she's cursed. Cursed, that's what they call it. When one of their kind is born with abilities they can't control, it's very rare, but when it happens, the person becomes dangerous to everyone around them." Jamin thought about this. "But she's been here for how long?" 2 years. The Veltar government sent her here because they couldn't keep her on their homeworld. She was hurting people without meaning to, and she's been alone all this time. Right. Has to be. Her quarters are lined with energy dampeners, but even then, she sometimes has episodes. The lights flicker throughout the entire station when she loses control." After breakfast, Dr. So-young gave him a tour of the research labs. They were impressive, with equipment from 12 different species working together. Jamin met several other researchers, including Dr. Kyung-ho, brilliant but arrogant engineer who barely acknowledged him. The tour ended at the elevator bank. Dr. So-young pointed to one elevator. It was marked with warning symbols in multiple languages. "That one only goes to level 7, she said. "Only Captain Hyanwu and Commander Tae Hyan have access codes." No one else ever goes down there? The food delivery drones go twice a day? And the maintenance bots check the dampeners once a week? But no people. It's too dangerous. That afternoon, Jamin met Elder Bomzuk, the lead Veltar researcher. She was an ancient being, her crystal body a deep blue color that seemed to shift in the light. Her presence was commanding, and when she spoke, her voice carried the weight of centuries. "Dr. Park," she said, "I understand you have questions about our station's special resident." "I'm curious about her condition," Jamin admitted. "As a xenobiologist, I've never encountered a case like this." Elder Bomzuk's crystal face showed no emotion, but her internal light dimmed slightly. "Nari is what we call Velkoth, Untouchable. She was born with abilities that are far beyond normal parameters. Her energy manipulation is so powerful that she cannot control it. Surely with proper training, Elder Bomzuk's light flared brighter. "Dr. Park, you do not understand. Nari killed her instructor. She killed 2 of her classmates. When she experiences strong emotions, her body releases energy bursts that can stop hearts, fry nervous systems, or worse." Jamin felt a chill run down his spine. She's been completely isolated for 2 years. It is necessary. For everyone's safety, including her own. "What will happen to her?" "We'll remain here until we can find a solution. The dampeners keep her contained, but they are not a cure." "She is 23 years old, Dr. Park. Most of our people live for hundreds of years. She faces a very long life of isolation." That evening, Jamin couldn't stop thinking about Nari. He imagined what it would be like to spend decades alone, knowing that your very presence could kill the people around you. The thought made him feel sick. He found himself standing by the restricted elevator, staring at the warning symbols. Somewhere below, a young woman was living in complete isolation, believing herself to be cursed and dangerous. As he stood there, the lights in the corridor flickered once, then twice. Then they went out completely for several seconds before coming back on. Another episode. He heard someone whisper behind him. J-Min turned to see Security Chief Dong Hyen approaching with a worried expression. "She's been having more of them lately," Dong Hyen said. "The dampeners are working harder to contain her energy. We might need to upgrade the system again." "How often does this happen? 2 or 3 times a week? Sometimes more when she's upset?" Dong Hyen shook his head. "I feel bad for her, but what can we do? She's too dangerous to be around other people." After Dong Hyen left, Jamin remained by the elevator. The lights flickered once more, fainter this time. He wondered if Nari could sense that people were talking about her. She knew that her pain was affecting the entire station. He made a decision then. Tomorrow, he would find a way to meet Nari. Not as a researcher studying a dangerous specimen, but as one person reaching out to another who was suffering. The warning symbols on the elevator seemed to glow brighter in the dim corridor light. But Jamin didn't feel afraid, felt determined. 7 levels below, Nari sat alone in her dampened quarters, trying to control the energy that crackled through her crystal body. She had felt the familiar surge of power when her emotions overwhelmed her. She knew the lights had flickered again throughout the station. Another reminder to everyone that she was dangerous, untouchable. Cursed, she pressed her face against the cold metal wall and wished, not for the first time, that she had never been born. Jamin waited until the night shift began before making his move. The corridors were dimmer now, with most of the crew either sleeping or working quietly in their labs. He had spent the entire day thinking about Nari, and his determination had only grown stronger. He approached the restricted elevator with careful steps. The warning symbols glowed softly in the reduced lighting, but they no longer scared him. He had studied the station's emergency protocols and found what he was looking for. In case of fire or other disasters, all elevator locks would automatically release. J-Min pulled out his toolkit and carefully opened the elevator's maintenance panel. He wasn't trying to break anything, just to activate the emergency override. His hand shook slightly as he worked, but after several minutes he heard a soft beep. The elevator doors opened. The ride down to level 7 felt longer than it should have. When the doors opened, Jamin stepped into a corridor that looked completely different from the rest of the station. The walls were covered with thick metal, panels, and he could hear a low, humming sound coming from everywhere at once. The energy dampeners, he realized. They were working constantly to contain whatever power Nari possessed. He walked slowly down the corridor, following the room numbers, until he reached the end. There was only one door here, larger than the others, with even more warning symbols. Through the thick glass window, he could see into the room. Nari was sitting on a simple bed, her back to the door. Her crystal body was beautiful but strange. She looked like a human woman carved from living gemstone, but light moved through her in patterns that shifted with her breathing. Even through the dampeners, Jamin could see energy crackling just beneath her surface. He knocked gently on the door. Nari turned around, not so quickly that she nearly fell off the bed. Her eyes were wide with shock and fear. Had a lovely face, but her expression was filled with terror. "Please don't be afraid," Jamin said through the door's communication system. "My name is Jamin Park. I'm a researcher here on the station." I stared at him for a long moment without moving. Then she slowly approached the door, staying several feet away. "You shouldn't be here," she said. Her voice was soft and musical, but it carried a sadness that made Jamin's heart ache. "Right," Jamin replied, "but I wanted to meet you anyway." "Why?" Nari's crystal features showed confusion. "Everyone else stays away. They're smart to do that, because no one should have to be alone all the time." Jamin sat down on the floor outside her door, making himself comfortable. "I thought you might like to have someone to talk to." Nari backed away from the door. "I can't control my powers. When I get emotional, bad things happen. The lights flicker. Sometimes worse. I noticed the lights flickering yesterday evening. Was that you?" Nari nodded, looking ashamed. "I was thinking about home, about my family. They were so afraid of me when I left." She sat down on her bed, wrapping her arms around herself. "I made them afraid." "Tell me about your home," Jamin said gently, "for the next hour." Nari told him about her life before coming to the station. I had grown up on Veltar Prime, a world of crystal cities and singing mountains. Her people lived in harmony with their environment, using their natural energy abilities to power their technology and heal their sick. "I was different from birth," she explained. "Most Veltar children develop their abilities slowly with careful training, but mine came too fast and too strong. When I was 7, I got scared during a thunderstorm and accidentally destroyed half my school's power grid." "That must have been frightening," Jamin said. "It was, but my parents tried to help me. They found the best teachers, the most skilled. Energy masters. For a while I thought I was getting better." Nari's light dimmed as she continued. "Then I turned 15. What happened? I was practicing with my instructor, Master Unesio. She was trying to teach me to channel my energy into small, controlled bursts, but I was frustrated because I couldn't do it right. I got angry, and ... Nari's voice broke. The energy came out all at once. It hit her directly in the chest. Jamin felt his stomach tighten. "Did she? ... She died instantly. Her crystal body shattered like glass." Tears began to flow down Nari's face, glowing softly as they fell. "We're also hurt. One of them never recovered fully." "I'm sorry," Jamin said softly. "That must have been terrible for you." After that, no one wanted to be near me. My parents tried to stay supportive, but I could see the fear in their eyes. When the government offered to send me here, I agreed. I thought maybe being away from everyone would be better, but you've been alone for 2 years. It's safer this way." Nari stood up and walked to the window that looked out at the planet below. "I can't hurt anyone if I'm alone." Just then, the lights in the corridor flickered. Nari immediately stepped back from the window, her body beginning to glow brighter. "It's happening again," she said, panic in her voice. "You need to leave." "Now." "I'm not leaving," Jamin said calmly. "You don't understand. When I lose control, the energy can travel through the station's systems. It could hurt you." The lights flickered again, and this time Jamin could feel a slight tingling in the air. Nari's crystal body was now glowing so brightly that it hurt to look at directly. "Nari, look at me," Jamin said firmly. "You're not alone anymore." "I'm here. That makes it worse," she sobbed. "I don't want to hurt you too. You won't hurt me. I trust you. Trust. Nari turned to stare at him through the thick glass. How can you trust someone who kills people? Because I don't think you're a killer. I think you're someone who's been hurt and scared and alone for so long that you've forgotten how to believe in yourself. The energy crackling through Nari's body began to slow, slightly. You don't know me. You're right. I don't know you yet. But I'd like to. Jamin stood up and placed his hand against the glass door. Will you let me get to know you? Nari stared at his hand for a long moment. Slowly, she approached the door and raised her own hand to match his position on the other side of the glass. I haven't touched another person in 2 years, she whispered. The glass is the only thing keeping you safe. Then we'll talk through the glass for now, Jamin said. But Nari, I want you to know something. I'm not here because I pity you. I'm here because I think you're more than what everyone says you are. What do you mean? I think your abilities aren't a curse. I think they're just different. Maybe, with the right approach, they could be controlled. Nari's light dimmed to a soft glow. The best teachers on my homeworld couldn't help me. What makes you think it's possible? Because they were trying to teach you to be like everyone else. But you're not like everyone else. Maybe you need a completely different approach. What kind of approach? Jamin smiled. I don't know yet, but I'd like to find out. Would you be willing to try? Nari was quiet for a long time. Finally, she nodded. I'll try. What? But if I hurt you, I'll never forgive myself. What? You won't hurt me. Jamin said with confidence he didn't entirely feel. What? Well, take it slow and be careful. As they talked through the night, Jamin learned more about Naria's abilities. She could manipulate various forms of energy, electrical, thermal, and even gravitational to some degree. But her power was tied directly to her emotions, and she had never learned to separate the two. On my world, we're taught that emotion and energy are one, she explained. But for me, that connection is too strong. When I feel something deeply, the energy responds, whether I want it to or not. What if we could teach you to feel emotions without triggering your abilities? Jamin suggested. Humans have techniques for controlling emotional responses. Yeah, maybe some of them could work for you. You really think that's possible? I think it's worth trying. When morning came, Jamin realized he had spent the entire night talking with Nari. She was intelligent, funny, and kind. She was also desperately lonely and convinced that she was dangerous to everyone around her. I should go, he said reluctantly. The day shift will be starting soon. Will you come back? Nari asked, hope clear in her voice. Of course. If you want, I'd like that. As Jamin rode the elevator back up to the main levels, he thought about everything Nari had told him. Her abilities were certainly dangerous. But he was beginning to suspect that her isolation was making them worse, not better. Fear and loneliness were powerful emotions. If her abilities were triggered by emotion, then keeping her alone and afraid was exactly the wrong approach. He was going to help her. Somehow he was going to find a way to help her control her powers and live a normal life. The question was whether he could do it. Before someone discovered what he was doing, for the next week, Jamin visited Nari every night. And sometimes just stories about his life on Earth. Nari looked forward to these visits more than anything else in her day. Tell me about your home again, she said one evening, as they sat on opposite sides of the glass door. J-Min smiled. Earth is very different from your crystal cities. We have oceans that stretch beyond the horizon, mountains covered in green trees and cities, made of metal and glass. The air moves freely, carrying scents of flowers and rain. It sounds beautiful, Nari said wistfully. You will someday, Jamin said with certainty. I've been studying your energy patterns, and I think I understand something important. Nari's crystal body brightened with interest. What do you mean? Your power spikes always happen when you're feeling negative emotions. Fear, sadness, anger, loneliness. But when you're calm and happy, like when we're talking, your energy stays stable. The elders always said my emotions were the problem, that I needed to feel less. But that's not really living, is it? Jamin leaned forward. What if the problem isn't your emotions, but how you react to them? Nari tilted her head. I don't understand. On Earth, we have something called meditation. It's a way to experience emotions without being controlled by them. You acknowledge the feeling, but you don't let it take over your actions. How does that work? Jamin thought for a moment. Imagine your emotions are like weather. When a storm comes, you can't stop it, but you can find shelter. You wait for it to pass instead of fighting it. That's a nice idea, but when my emotions get strong, the energy just comes out. I can't control it. What if we practice together? I could teach you some human techniques for staying calm under pressure. Nari looked uncertain. What if I hurt you during practice? The glass barrier will protect me. Well, we'll start very slowly. Over the next few nights, Jamin taught Nari simple breathing exercises. She was a quick learner, and he noticed that her energy patterns became more stable when she focused on her breathing. This is strange, she said after a particularly good session. I can feel the energy moving through me, but it's not fighting to get out. That's because you're not fighting it either, Jamin explained. I've been afraid of my own power for so long, Nari admitted. I forgot that it's part of who I am. Your abilities aren't a curse, Nari. They're just different. And different doesn't mean bad. Dr. Soyoung was the first to notice that Jamin looked tired during his day shifts. She found him in the laboratory one morning, staring at his research. Notes with heavy eyes? You look like you haven't been sleeping well, she said, setting down a cup of coffee next to him. I've been doing some extra research, Jamin replied carefully. What kind of research? Energy manipulation in crystalline life forms. I think there might be ways to help beings like Nari control their abilities. Dr. Soyoung's expression grew worried. Jamin, you're not thinking of doing anything dangerous, are you? Of course not. I'm just studying the theoretical possibilities. But Dr. Soyoung wasn't convinced. She had noticed that the power fluctuations on level 7 had become less frequent and less severe over the past week. Something was different about Nari's condition, and she suspected Jamin was involved. That evening, Security Chief Dong Haein was making his rounds when he noticed something odd. The elevator to level 7 had been used several times in the past week, but only authorized personnel were supposed to have access. He decided to check the security logs. Meanwhile, Jamin was having his most successful session yet with Nari. She had learned to recognize the early signs of an energy surge and use breathing techniques to calm herself before it became dangerous. I felt anger today, she told him proudly. One of the food delivery drones malfunctioned and spilled my lunch everywhere. Usually that would have caused a power spike, but I remembered what you taught me. What did you do? I took deep breaths and counted to 10. The energy stayed calm. I felt angry, but I didn't let the anger control me. Jamin felt a surge of pride. Nari, that's incredible progress. Do you really think I might be able to control my abilities? I think you're already starting to. Just then, the lights in the corridor flickered. But this time, it wasn't from Nari losing control. It was from someone using the elevator to come down to level 7. Someone's coming, Nari said. Panic. Creeping into her voice? Stay calm, Jamin said quickly. Remember what we practiced. Don't let fear take control. The elevator doors opened, and Security Chief Dong Haein stepped out. His face was stern as he approached them. Dr. Park, you're not authorized to be here, he said firmly. I can explain, Jamin began. You've been coming here every night for a week. You've been interfering with station security protocols. Dong Haein looked at Nari through the glass. And you've been putting yourself and others in danger? Nari's crystal body began to glow brighter. Please don't punish him. This is my fault. Nobody's being punished, Dong Haein said, but his tone remained official. Dr. Park, you need to come with me. Captain Haein-woo wants to see you. As they walked toward the elevator, Jamin turned back to Nari. Remember what we practiced? You're stronger than you think. In Captain Haein-woo's office, Jamin faced a room full of concerned faces. Dr. Park, Captain Haein-woo began, you violated multiple safety protocols. Level 7 is restricted for good reason. But I believe Nari's condition has been misunderstood. Elder Bomsuk stepped forward, her crystal body glowing with anger. Misunderstood? She has killed members of my people? She is dangerous. She was dangerous because she was afraid and alone, Jamin replied. In the past week, I've been working with her on emotional control techniques. Her power fluctuations have decreased significantly. You've been working with her? Commander Taehyun looked shocked. Without authorization? Without safety equipment? The glass barrier provided adequate protection. And the results speak for themselves. Check the power monitoring logs. Nari has had fewer energy spikes this week than in any comparable period. Since she arrived, Captain Hyun Woo pulled up the data on his terminal. After a moment, he frowned. The logs do show a decrease in power fluctuations, but that could be coincidence. It's not coincidence, Jamin said firmly. Nari's abilities are tied to her emotional state. Fear, loneliness, and despair make her powers unstable. But when she feels safe and supported, she can control them. Impossible, Elder Bomzuk said. The Velkoth condition cannot be cured. It is a genetic flaw. Maybe it's not a flaw, Jamin suggested. Maybe it's just a different way of being Veltar. One that requires different training methods. The room fell silent. Finally, Captain Hyun Woo spoke. I'm suspending your access to level 7, effective immediately. Captain, please. Nari is making real progress. If we stop now, she'll think she's been abandoned again. That could make her condition worse. The decision is final, Captain Hyun Woo said. You're confined to the upper levels until further notice. As security escorted Jamin out, he felt frustrated and worried. Nari had been doing so well, and now she would be alone again, just when she was starting to believe in herself. Back on level 7. Nari sat in her room staring at the door where Jamin had been taken away. She felt the familiar surge of energy building inside her, but this time she tried to use the techniques he had taught her. Deep breaths. Count to 10. Don't let the emotion control you. The energy settled slightly, but she could feel it pushing. Against her control, fear was creeping in. Fear that she would never see her only friend again. Fear that she would spend the rest of her life alone. The lights in her room flickered once and went out completely. In the upper levels, every screen. And light on the station went dark for exactly 3 seconds. When they came back on, alarms began sounding throughout the station. Power surge on level 7, came the announcement over the intercom. All personnel report to emergency stations. Captain Hyun Woo looked at the power readings on his screen. The energy spike had been massive, bigger than any Nari had produced before. The surge had been powerful, but it had also been controlled. Instead of lasting several minutes like Nari's previous episodes, this one had lasted only seconds. And despite its intensity, it hadn't damaged any of the station's systems. Captain, he said quietly. I think Nari just proved that she can control her abilities, even under extreme stress. What do you mean? She's scared and angry right now? In the past, that would have meant a power surge lasting several minutes and causing system damage throughout the station. But this surge was brief and controlled. She's learning. Captain Hyun Woo looked at the data again. You really think she can be helped? I know she can, but not if we abandon her now. The captain was quiet for a long moment. Finally, he made a decision that would change everything. Dr. Park, I'm giving you 24 hours to prove your theory. If Nari can demonstrate real control over her abilities, we'll consider a new approach to her situation. And if I fail, then she'll have to be transferred to a more secure facility. One where she'll have even less contact with other people. Jamin felt the weight of responsibility settle on his shoulders. Nari's entire future depended on what happened in the next day. He just hoped he could help her believe in herself enough to succeed. J-Min spent a sleepless night preparing for the most important day of Nari's life. He reviewed all his notes about her energy patterns and thought about the best way to demonstrate her progress. But as morning came, a new crisis emerged that would change everything. The station's alarm system activated at 0600 hours, waking everyone with its urgent wailing. Jamin rushed to the command center where he found Captain Hyun Woo and his officers. Staring at screens full of red warning lights. What's happening? Jamin asked. The exotic matter containment system is failing, Commander Taehyun replied grimly. We have maybe 6 hours before complete cascade failure. Dr. Kung Ho was working frantically at a control panel, sweat beading on his forehead. The magnetic field generators are overloading. I can't stabilize the reaction. What does that mean for the station? Jamin asked. If the containment fails completely, The resulting explosion will destroy the station and everything within 50 kilometers, Captain Hyan-Woo explained. We're preparing to evacuate, but the nearest rescue ships are 8 hours away. There has to be something we can do. Dr. Kyun-ho looked up from his controls with desperate eyes. The only way to stop it would be to manually adjust the energy flows inside the containment chamber. But the radiation levels would kill anyone who tried. Jamin felt his mind racing. Energy flows. Manual adjustment. Manipulate energy directly, without having to physically enter the chamber. That's impossible. No human technology can do that kind of precise energy work remotely. I'm not talking about human technology. Jamin turned to Captain Hyan-Woo. I'm talking about Nari. The command center fell silent. Elder Bamzuk spoke first, her voice filled with shock. You cannot be serious. Nari cannot control her abilities precisely enough for that kind of work. She's been learning. In the past week, she's made incredible progress. Even if that were true, Commander Taehyun said, she would have to leave her dampened quarters. Her energy field could interact unpredictably with the exotic matter. Or it could save all our lives. Jamin replied. Captain, you gave me 24 hours to prove Nari can control her abilities. This is our chance. Captain Hyan-Woo stared at the deteriorating readings on his screen. Dr. Kyung-ho, is it theoretically possible for someone with energy manipulation abilities to stabilize the containment? Theoretically, yes. But it would require incredibly precise control. A person would have to adjust dozens of energy streams simultaneously while maintaining perfect balance. One mistake, and the whole system could explode instantly. Nari has that kind of precision, Jamin insisted. I've seen her work. Elder Bamsuk's crystal body flared with anger. You've seen her practice simple exercises through a barrier. This is completely different. And we're all going to die anyway, Jamin said bluntly, because no one else can do what needs to be done. Captain Hyan-Woo made the hardest decision of his career. Dr. Park, go talk to Nari, explain the situation. If she's willing to try, we'll let her. And if she loses control, then we die. A little faster than we would have otherwise. Jamin raced to level 7, his heart pounding. When he reached Nari's quarters, he found her sitting calmly on her bed, as if she'd been waiting for him. The alarms woke me, she said before he could speak. Something terrible is happening, isn't it? The station's power core is failing. We have maybe 6 hours before it explodes. Nari's crystal face showed no surprise. And you want me to help? You're the only one who can. But Nari, it's incredibly dangerous. If you make a mistake, everyone dies, including you. And if I don't try, everyone dies anyway. Yes. Nari stood up and walked to the door. I've been alone and afraid for 2 years, Jamin. I've let fear control my life because I was worried about hurting other people. But now people are going to die unless I try to help them. You sure about this? Oh, I'm terrified. But you taught me that I don't have to let fear control me. She placed her hand against the glass barrier. Will you stay with me? I think I can do this if you're there, not leaving your side. They made their way to the engineering section, where the containment chamber hummed with barely controlled energy. The room was filled with people. Captain Hyan-Woo, Dr. Kyun-ho, Elder Bamzuk, and several other officers. When Nari entered, everyone stepped back instinctively. Her crystal body was glowing brighter than usual, responding to her nervous energy. Remember what we practiced, Jamin said softly. Deep breaths. Stay calm. Nari nodded and began the breathing exercises he had taught her. Her glow dimmed. To a more manageable level, Dr. Kuncho explained what needed to be done. The exotic matter is contained by 17 different energy fields. They're all failing at different rates. You would need to strengthen the weak ones and balance the strong ones, all at the same time. Can you show me the energy patterns? Nari asked. Dr. Kyung-ho brought up a holographic display showing the containment fields as flowing streams of light. Some were flickering and weak while others pulsed erratically. Nari studied the patterns for several minutes. I can see what needs to be done, she said finally. But I'll need to get closer to the containment chamber. How close? Captain Hyan-Woo asked. I need to touch it. Everyone in the room looked horrified. That's impossible, Dr. Kyung-ho said. The radiation will kill you in seconds. Not if I create an energy shield around myself. I think I can do it, but I've never tried anything that complex before. Nari, Jamin said gently. You don't have to do this. Yes, I do. She turned to face him, and he saw determination in her crystal features that hadn't been there before. For the first time in my life, I have a chance to use my abilities. To help people instead of hurting them. I'm not going to waste it. Elder Bomzuk stepped forward. Child, if you do this, you may not survive. And if you fail, you will be remembered as the one who destroyed this station. And if I succeed, then you will prove that the Velkoth are not cursed. It will change how our people see this condition forever. Nari took a deep breath. Then I have to try. She approached the containment chamber slowly, her body beginning to glow brighter with each step. The radiation detectors in the room began clicking frantically. I'm going to create a shield now, she announced. Wait. Don't be alarmed if my energy. Signature spikes. Nari closed her eyes and reached deep inside herself, accessing power she had kept locked away for years. A brilliant sphere of energy formed around her body, protecting her from the deadly radiation. Incredible, Dr. Kyung-ho whispered. Her energy field is actually deflecting the radiation. Nari placed her hands on the containment chamber and immediately felt the chaotic energy flows inside. They were wild and uncontrolled, fighting against each other like angry storms. I can feel them, she said, her voice strained with concentration. They're scared. The energy patterns are afraid. Afraid? Jamin asked. They don't want to be contained anymore. They want to be free. Nari's glow intensified as she began to work. I need to show them that being controlled doesn't mean being trapped. For the next hour, Nari worked with delicate precision, adjusting each energy stream individually while maintaining the balance of the whole system. Sweat appeared on her crystal skin as she pushed her abilities to their absolute limit. Field strength is stabilizing, Dr. Kyung-ho reported. She's actually doing it, but the effort was taking its toll on Nari. Her energy shield was flickering, and Jamin could see that she was weakening. How much longer? He asked Dr. Kyung-ho. She needs to hold it for at least another 20 minutes while the automated systems reset. Jamin looked at Nari's straining form and made a decision that surprised everyone in the room. He stepped forward and placed his hand on her shoulder, outside her energy shield. What are you doing? Captain Hyenwoo shouted. The radiation will kill you. But instead of being harmed, Jamin felt Nari's energy flowed through him harmlessly. His human nervous system seemed to absorb and ground her excess power, making her efforts more stable and controlled. I don't understand, Elder Bomzuk said in amazement. How is he not being electrocuted? Human physiology, Jamin realized. Our nervous systems can handle electrical energy differently than yours. I'm like a lightning rod for her power. Jamin's help Nari found the strength to complete the stabilization. Containment fields locked into perfect harmony, and the threat of explosion passed. As the crisis ended, Auri collapsed from exhaustion, but she was smiling. For the first time in her life, she had used her abilities to save people instead of hurting them. You did it, Jamin said, catching her as she fell. You saved everyone. We did it, she corrected him. I couldn't have done it alone. Elder. Bomzuk approached them slowly, her ancient crystal face showing wonder. I have never seen anything like this. A human and a Velkoth, working together. Maybe that's the answer, Captain Hyenwoo said thoughtfully. Maybe the Velkoth aren't meant to control their abilities alone. As medical teams checked Nari and Jamin for radiation exposure, both knew that everything had changed. Nari was no longer the untouchable outcast. She was a hero who had saved hundreds of lives. But more than that, she had discovered that her greatest strength came not from controlling her power alone, but from sharing it with someone who believed. In her news of Nari's heroic act spread throughout the station within hours. The woman who had been feared and avoided was now being called a hero. But with recognition came new challenges that no one had expected. Dr. So-young found Jamin in the medical bay, where he was being treated for minor radiation exposure. The entire station is talking about what happened, she said, sitting beside his bed. How are you feeling? Tired, but fine. How's Nari? She's resting. The medical team says she'll recover completely, but she used more energy than anyone thought. Possible, Dr. So-young paused. Jamin, what you two did was incredible. But it's also raised some serious questions. What kind of questions? The connection between you and Nari. When you touched her during the crisis, something happened that our scientists can't explain. Her energy flowed through you without causing harm. Jamin nodded slowly. I felt it too. It was like her power was looking for a way out, and my nervous system provided a safe path. Elder Bomsuke's been studying the readings from yesterday. She thinks she might have discovered something revolutionary about Veltar biology. The next day, Jamin was released from medical care and immediately requested permission to see Nari. He found her in new quarters on level 5, much larger and more comfortable than her previous cell. The energy dampeners were gone, replaced with monitoring equipment that tracked her power levels without suppressing them. You look better, he said, taking a seat across from her. Nari smiled, and her crystal body glowed softly with contentment. I feel better. For the first time in years, I don't feel like I'm fighting my own power. It's still there, but it's calm. The station crew wants to study what happened between us, Jamin told her. They think we might have made an important discovery. I've been thinking about that too. When you touched me, it felt like finding a missing piece of myself. The energy that usually builds up and causes problems just flowed away safely. Before Nari could say more, the door chimed.
Elder Bomzuk
entered, followed by Captain Hyanwu and Dr. Kyung-ho. The ancient Veltar leader looked thoughtful rather than angry. Nari, Dr. Park, Elder Bomskook began, we need to discuss what happened yesterday. Our analysis of the event has revealed something extraordinary. What did you find? Nari asked. Dr. Kyung-ho pulled up a holographic display showing energy readings. When Dr. Park made physical contact with you, your power output didn't just stabilize, it became more efficient. You were able to do work that should have required twice as much energy. What does that mean? Jamina asked. Elder Bomzuk stepped forward. It means that our understanding of the Velkoth condition has been completely wrong. We thought it was a curse, a genetic flaw that made individuals dangerous and uncontrollable. But it's not. Nari's voice was barely a whisper. No, child. I believe it's an evolutionary adaptation. The Velkoth aren't broken Veltar. They're the next step in our species' development. The room fell silent as this revelation sank in. Finally, Jamin spoke. Next step how? For thousands of years, our people have lived in isolation, working alone with our individual abilities, Elder Bomzuk explained. But the Velkoth seem to be designed for cooperation. Their excess energy needs to be shared with others too. Function properly. You're saying Nari's abilities are meant to be used with a partner? Captain Hyanwu asked. Not just any partner. Someone whose nervous system can safely channel Veltar energy. Until now, we didn't know such beings existed. Dr. Kyung-ho nodded enthusiastically. The readings show that human neural pathways can process and redirect Veltar energy without damage. It's like humans were designed to be partners for advanced Veltar. Nari looked stunned. So I'm not cursed? You're gifted? Elder Bomzuk said gently. And I owe you an apology. We allowed fear to blind us to the truth about your nature. Over. The next few days, word of the discovery reached the Veltar homeworld. The response was immediate and overwhelming. Scientific teams requested permission to visit the station. Government officials wanted to meet with Nari. Wow. Most importantly, other Velkoth, who had been living in isolation, came forward, hoping to learn about this new possibility. But the discovery also attracted unwanted attention. Commander Taehyun burst into the command center on the 4th day after the crisis, his face pale with worry. Captain, we have a problem. Long-range sensors are detecting a fleet of ships approaching our position. Friendly ships. No, sir. They're Kethmer warships. At least 12 vessels, heavily armed. Captain Hyanwu felt his blood run cold. Kethmer were known as raiders and slavers, always looking for new technologies or abilities they could exploit. How long until they arrive? 6 hours at current speed. What do they want? I think we know, Jamin said grimly. He had been monitoring communications from the homeworld and noticed that not all the messages about Nari had been on secure channels. Word about Nari's abilities has leaked. They want to capture her, down her quarters. Nari was trying to process everything that had happened when Jamin arrived with the news about the approaching fleet. They want to use me as a weapon, she said quietly after he explained the situation. We won't let that happen. How can you stop them? This station isn't a military vessel. I don't know yet, but we'll figure something out. Nari stood and walked to her window, looking out at the stars. Jamin, I need to tell you something. When I stabilized the power core, I felt something change inside me. My abilities are stronger now. Stronger how? I think I could extend my energy field beyond this station. It's maybe far enough to reach those ships. That's impossible. The distance is too great. Maybe for normal Veltar. But I'm Velkoth, remember? We're supposed to be different. Nari turned to face him. I think I could create a barrier around the entire station. Keep their weapons from reaching us. Nari, that would require enormous amounts of energy. It could kill you. Not if I have you to help channel the excess power. Jamin stared at her. You're talking about something that's never been attempted? Before? Everything we've done together has never been attempted before. An hour later, they were in the command center, explaining Nari's plan to the senior staff. The reaction was mixed. It's too dangerous, Dr. Soyoung protested. We don't know what that much energy could do to either of you. The alternative is being captured or killed by the Kethmar. Jamin replied. Elder Bomzuk studied the energy calculations Dr. Kungho had prepared. Theoretically, it could work. But Nari would have to transform herself into pure energy to generate a field that large. Transform Captain Hyenwu asked. She would have to give up her physical form, at least temporarily. There's no guarantee. She could return to normal afterward. Nari listened to the debate calmly. Finally, she spoke. I've spent my whole life being afraid of my power, afraid of what it might do, afraid of who it might hurt. But yesterday, I learned that my abilities can save people. Nari Jamin said softly, if you do this, you might not be able to come back. I know. But if I don't do this, everyone on this station will die or be enslaved. That's not a choice. At all? There has to be another way. Maybe there is. But we don't have time to find it. Nari took his hand, and her energy flowed between them gently. Jamin, you gave me something I never thought I could have. You showed me that I don't have to be alone. You're not alone. We're partners. And partners trust each other. She squeezed his hand. I need you to trust me now. Ash. As the Kethmar fleet drew closer, Nari prepared for the most challenging test of her abilities yet. Longer, the frightened, isolated woman who had lived in the depths of the station, she was Velkoth, and she finally understood what that meant. She was evolution itself. The bridge between what her people had been and what they could become. She was ready to prove it. The Kethmar had come expecting to capture a dangerous but controllable weapon. They had no idea they were about to face something far more powerful than they could imagine. The Kethmar fleet dropped out of hyperspace exactly when predicted, their dark ships forming a threatening circle around the research station. Captain Hyenwu watched the tactical display with growing dread as 12 heavily armed warships took positions around them. They're hailing us, reported Communications Officer Haewon. Put them through. The main screen flickered to life, showing a Kethmar commander with scarred skin and cold eyes. Research Station Kepler 442, you will surrender the energy-wielding female to us immediately. We don't negotiate with raiders. Leave our space immediately. The Kethmar commander laughed harshly. Your weapons are no match for our fleet. We know about the Veltar female's abilities. She will make a valuable addition to our forces. Over my dead body, Captain Hyenwu replied, cutting the transmission. In the station's central hub, Nari stood with Jamin, preparing for what might be their final moments together. Her crystal body was glowing brighter than ever before, responding to the enormous energy she was gathering within herself. Are you ready? She asked him. J-Min placed both hands on her shoulders, feeling the familiar flow of her power through his nervous system. I'm ready, but Nari, promise me something. What? Promise me you'll come back. Elder Bomsuk approached them, her ancient face showing both pride and sorrow. Child, what you are about to attempt will change our people forever. If you succeed, The Velkoth will no longer be outcasts. They will be heroes. And if I fail, then you will die as you lived, fighting to protect others." Nari nodded and turned to address the station's crew, who had gathered to watch. "Many of you were afraid of me when I first came here. That fear was understandable. I was afraid of myself too." Her voice grew stronger as she continued. "We can choose to face our fears and overcome them. Today, I choose to use my abilities not to destroy, but to protect." The first Kethmer weapon blast struck the station's shields, causing the entire structure to shudder. Red warning lights flashed. As the defensive systems strained under the assault, shields at 60%, reported Tactical Officer Sung Min. "We can't take much more of this. Nari now would be good," Captain Hyanwu said urgently. Nari closed her eyes and reached deep inside herself, accessing power she had never dared to use before. Her crystal body began to glow so brightly that everyone in the room had to shield their eyes. "I can feel them," she said, her voice echoing strangely as energy coursed through her. "The Kethmer, their weapons, their ships, everything," Jamin asked, struggling to maintain contact as her energy levels spiked. "I can do more than stop them." Nari's physical form began to change, becoming translucent as she converted more of her matter into pure energy. Jamin felt the transformation through their connection, his human nervous system serving as an anchor that kept her consciousness stable. "Extending energy field now," she announced. A brilliant dome of light erupted from the station, expanding outward at incredible speed. The Kethmer ships fired their weapons frantically, but the energy blasts were absorbed harmlessly by Neri's barrier. "Impossible," breathed Dr. Kung Ho, watching the readings on his instruments. As her energy field stabilized around the station, she began to extend tendrils of power toward the Kethmer ships themselves.
What is she doing now?"
Captain Hyanwu asked. "I think she's taking control of their systems," Jamin replied. His voice strained from channeling her massive energy output. One by one, the Kethmer ships began to power down. Their weapons went offline, their engines shut down, and their life support systems switched to minimum levels. "This is impossible," came the panicked voice of the Kethmar commander over the communication channel. "Our systems are being controlled remotely," Nari's voice, now speaking from everywhere at once, filled the bridge of every Kethmer ship. "Your weapons cannot harm those under my protection. Leave this place and never return." But when the Kethmer tried to restart their engines, nothing happened. Nari had completely taken control of their fleet. "You have two choices," her voice continued. "Leave peacefully in the small transport ships I will allow you to use, or remain here as prisoners. Choose quickly." The transformation was taking its toll on Nari. Jamin could feel her consciousness starting to drift away from her body. "Nari, you need to come back," he said. Urgently, "don't lose yourself in the power." "I can feel everything," she replied, her voice distant. "Every star, every planet, every living thing within light years. It's beautiful, Jamin. Come back to us. Come back to me. I don't know. If I can, this form is so much easier, so much more free." Jamin closed his eyes and reached out through their connection, not just to channel her power, but to remind her of who she was. I thought about their conversations through the glass door, about her dreams of walking outside, about her desire to help people instead of hurting them. "Remember why you did this," he said. "You wanted to protect people. But you also wanted to live among them. You can't do that if you become pure energy. This way I can protect everyone. I can watch over the entire sector. That's not living, Nari. That's just existing." Elder Bomzuk stepped forward. "Child, you have proven what the Velkoth truly are. But your people need you to return and teach others what you have learned." The protective barrier around the station remained, but she started to recondense her physical form. "It's hard," she gasped, as her crystal body began to solidify again. "Part of me wants to stay dispersed forever." "Don't give up," Jamin encouraged her. "Remember what you promised me." With tremendous effort, Nari finally managed to return to her physical form, though she remained changed by the experience. Her crystal body now had a constant, gentle glow, and her eyes held depths that spoke of having seen across vast distances. The Kethmer fleet, meanwhile, had made their choice. Faced with complete helplessness, they abandoned their ships and fled in small transport vessels. But this time, her collapse was different. Instead of being drained and defeated, she looked peaceful and fulfilled. "You did it," Jamin said, holding her steady. "You saved everyone." "I did it," she corrected him with a tired smile. "I couldn't have come back without you." In the days that followed, representatives from dozens of worlds came to study what had happened at Research Station Kepler 442. The partnership between Nari and Jamin became the foundation for a new understanding of Veltar evolution. A training facility was established on the station, where other Velkoth could learn to control their abilities with human partners. Nari became the first instructor, teaching both Veltar and humans how to work together safely and effectively. Dr. Soyoung was among the first humans to volunteer for the partnership program. After seeing what you and Nari accomplished, she told Jamin, "I want to help others discover what they're capable of." Elder Bomzuk established a new council to govern Velkoth affairs, with Nari as its youngest member. The days of calling them untouchable were over. Now they were known as bridge builders. The living connection between species and the key to a more cooperative future. 6 months later, Jamin and Nari stood on the observation deck of the now expanded station, watching ships arrive with new students and partners. The facility had grown from a simple research station to a center of interspecies cooperation. "Do you ever regret it?" Jamin asked. "Giving up that godlike power you had when you were pure energy." Nari smiled and took his hand, their energies flowing together in perfect harmony. "I gave up the power to control everything so I could have the chance to share something with someone special. I think I made the right choice. Even though being physical means you'll face limitations again, and what I have is better than any amount of power." She squeezed his hand. "I have a partner who believed in me when no one else would. I have a purpose that helps others instead of hurting them." As they watched another ship dock with new arrivals, Nari reflected on how much had changed. She was no longer the frightened, isolated woman who had been called untouchable. She was a bridge between worlds, a teacher, and most importantly, someone who was valued for who she was, rather than feared for what she might do. The transformation that began with one human showing respect instead of fear had grown into something that would reshape the relationships between species for generations to come. And at the center of it all was the simple truth that Jamin had recognized from the beginning. Everyone deserves to be treated with dignity, no matter how different they might seem. Nari was no longer untouchable. She was irreplaceable. The future stretched out before them, full of challenges and possibilities. But whatever came next, they would face it together, proving that the greatest power of all was the connection between people who truly understood and accepted each other. In the end, respect had indeed conquered fear, and in doing so, it had opened the door to a new age of cooperation and understanding among the stars.